Welcome back to the Finance Forum with myself, Abdu-Raof Hanslo. And today in studio, in the second segment of my program, is Viola Brandt, of an independent financial advisor for Africa First Diversified Financial Services. Viola's speaking to me about medical aids, and in this second part of the program, we're going to unpack exactly the administration behind how medical aids operate. So Viola, the first half, we basically looked at the public and what's available to them, and exactly how one could access the various options, and more about the options. Right. Now we want to go into a little bit more further detail. So currently, whenever we put the television on, or we open Facebook, or we go online and we look for adverts for medical cover, the first thing that springs up is medical insurance. Right. So I think the question on basically all my viewers' minds would be, what's the difference between medical insurance versus medical aid?
Right. Medical aid pays for all your medical expenses, and they pay it directly to the service provider. So for example, if you get admitted into hospital and there's an admission date for you, so everything from the date of admission to the date of discharge gets paid to the hospital and the service providers.
Okay.
Whereas with the medical insurance, you don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you end up at a private hospital, even if you have medical insurance, they'll ask you to pay a huge fee up front. Yeah. Okay? Because they don't know for how long you're going to be in hospital. Yeah. And then from day 1 to day 5, most of the medical insurances you'll only be able to claim from day 3 onwards. So please read the fine print. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't pay service providers, they pay you as the client, and the client will have to then pay those service providers. And that can be any amount from 10,000 Rand up to 200,000 Rand, because a heart bypass surgery now costs about 200,000 Rand.
So what you're saying basically, if you do end up in an accident and you're on medical insurance, make sure you may do a good job of it.
Yes.
In order to stay there for more than 3 days.
Correct.
So, okay. So basically the one's a risk option that basically you have to cover yourself and then claim back.
Correct.
And the other one's peace of mind.
Correct.
Being the medical aid that allows you access immediately and all your bills covered.
Right.
Now, there's a no-brainer to that, obviously, that one doesn't always have that amount of surplus cash available to go and pay for these expenses. One's not discounting medical insurance. We believe that there's a place for every single finance product.
Correct.
In the lifestyles of various people.
Right.
So there is a place for it, but medical aid obviously is the more better option for everyday usage and so on.
And hospitalization,
hospitalization. So medical aid, from a medical aid perspective, Viola, there's something called the hospital plan and comprehensive cover.
Correct.
So the hospital plan, as the name says, would probably just cover your hospital admission?
Correct.
Correct.
So how it would work is, whether it's an emergency or whether it's planned, your hospital cover would cover you from the date of admission to the date of discharge.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your hospital cover.
Yeah.
Anything over and above that, meaning you would need to go back to your specialist to actually do a follow-up consultation, then that would come out of your pocket.
Now, one concerning fact is that in the news over the last while, we've seen that companies are coming together.
Right.
And in the finance industry, if we see banks come together, it means that one's in trouble.
Right.
So whether that applies to the medical aid schemes or not, I'm unaware of that. But there's something called amalgamations, and I think over the last 20 years, we've seen plenty of companies come together and form one medical scheme.
Yes.
And the one that's basically now on the cards for 2017 is Liberty
Health.
Liberty Health.
Yes.
And Bonitas.
Yes.
The one's being taken over by the other.
Correct.
Can you give us a synopsis of exactly what happened there and why that's happening, as well as what the future holds for that scheme?
Okay, normally what you would see is that if smaller medical schemes are not being sustainable, right, the bigger medical schemes would actually buy them out, which is exactly what Bonitas has done with Liberty Health. Which means that all the Liberty Health members, there would be no underwriting involved. They would just be amalgamated. They would be added to the Bonitas membership, which would increase the principal membership within Bonitas and also increase the solvency ratios. Okay.
Okay. Now you're touching on something that I think needs a little bit more unpacking, and that's a solvency ratio.
Yeah.
We've heard this term thrown around in the past, especially now with the amalgamation season
Right.
underway. So, what exactly is solvency ratio?
Okay. Solvency ratio is when you actually look at the medical scheme on a whole,
Yeah.
and you look at how much money of that medical scheme is being paid out on claims,
Yeah.
okay, versus the amount of new business that is coming in. Because a
Okay.
certain amount of your premium goes towards the scheme's solvency ratio.
Okay.
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 So when you look at your scheme and you make your choice as to what medical scheme you're going to choose, look at how they pay out your claims and look at how healthy the scheme is by looking at the solvency ratio.
So we don't want to name and shame anyone
No.
at the moment, but if one looks at from an average perspective across the board
Yes.
at all the medical aid schemes, ultimately do all of them at least have a good solvency ratio, and are they sustainable?
There's two very big medical schemes, which I'm not going to mention,
Yeah.
okay, which are really, really doing well. It just means that the amount of new business coming in, they're growing all the time, versus the amount of claims that they're paying out. Right.
Now, also, I mean, 20 years ago, I belonged to a medical aid, but that medical aid was a bit different to the one that I currently belong to.
Yes.
So I remember going to the optometrist, and the optometrist would say to me, "Sorry, sir, your spectacle benefits for this year has been depleted. You'll have to wait until next year."
Yes.
But then I go next door to the dentist, and the dentist says, "No, fine, you can come inside. There's money for you."
Right.
So obviously, that medical aid was segmented as far as various different options of practitioners.
Right.
But today, basically, you get given one lump sum, and if it's finished, it's finished.
That is
And
correct.
You don't. So that was different in those years compared to now. So I think the name's been given conventional medical aid schemes
Yes,
versus new
new
age
age.
medical aid schemes.
Yes.
So the question I have is, are there many conventional medical aid schemes still around?
There definitely is. Like, it's all up to the client.
Yeah.
So when I have my one-on-one session with the client, I actually ask them, is this something that you'd want?
Yeah.
Because it is available to you, where you pay one premium and you basically know what your capitated benefits are. So I've got 5,000 Rand for GP visits for my family for the year, and I've got 10,000 for optometry for the year.
Yeah.
But my premium is quite high.
Okay.
Versus a new age one where I am taking a hospital plan only,
Yeah.
right? Or I can take a hospital plus a day-to-day, and the day-to-day factor is one that I carry as part of the risk premium.
Okay. So basically, they are available.
They are available.
Are they phasing out? Are they dying off? Is it a dying breed?
It is a dying breed. I think that most medical schemes would actually want to get away from
Yeah.
that. They want the client to carry the responsibility for day-to-day,
Yeah.
but it is still available to those clients that actually opt and do want them.
Yeah. And then on the new age side of the medical aid schemes,
Yes.
do we find many of these new age medical aids with large sums of savings that could be spent through the year, so that to make sure that you don't run out of benefits?
No, unfortunately, the savings component is it is calculated and authorized by the Council of Medical Schemes. So it's got to be approved every year by the council. So if your specific medical aid is telling you that you can only get 20% of your premium as a day-to-day, it's been regulated by the council. They can't increase that benefit for you. So 20% of your 1,000 Rand, would then go towards your day-to-day. But your day-to-day is given to you upfront for the year.
Now coming to who can access this medical aids, basically who can access medical cover. So I know that the rule says that everyone can be covered.
Yes.
But it all depends on the company of how they or the underwriting side of the company, at least. You'll tell us what that is. But basically, they will ascertain on whether there'll be a waiting period or not, or what they do cover and what they don't cover.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Okay. So if you are joining a new member and you've never been part of a medical scheme before, each and every medical scheme underwrites exactly the same. All right, and it's also been regulated by the Council of Medical Schemes.
Okay.
So I'm a new member. I'm 40 years old. I've never had medical aid before.
Yeah.
Okay. I will get a 3-month waiting period.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if I carry a pre-existing condition. So I'll get a 3-month waiting period. I will carry a 12-month condition-specific exclusion for my pre-existing condition. And because I'm 40, I will also carry a late joining penalty.
Okay.
Right. So instead of my contribution being 1,000 Rand, it now gets calculated as 1,000 Rand plus my late joining penalty.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Now, that's disheartening on the one side, but obviously medical aids are businesses,
Right.
so they need to cover themselves as well. Viola, on conclusion, basically, from an advice perspective, how important is advice to anyone interested to join a medical aid scheme?
Okay. My advice to all people out there is if you can see a financial advisor or a medical aid specialist to come out and meet with you and your partner or your family, just to get a more clear, concise benefit configuration, and they'll be able to do that. It's better doing that versus picking up the telephone and speaking to someone over the call center. I would prefer that people actually do the one-on-one with a financial advisor.
Viola, thank you very much for your presence here today. It's been enlightening, and I think you've imparted a tremendous amount of advice and benefit to the viewers. You've been watching the Finance Forum with my special guest in studio, Ms. Viola Brunt, Independent Financial Advisor for Africa First Diversified Financial Services. For this and more information on medical aid, you can visit their website on www.africafirst.biz. Viola basically has given you a tremendous amount of information concerning medical aid. So if you are still unclear, please do contact them. Until next time, stay focused to your finances.